Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We are so much excited to have you this afternoon for this program. I believe it's going to be informative. You will learn something. There are many people who are going through life and with a lot of pain. Sometimes the pain comes away from home, but sometimes it could be coming from home. And that's why we have this discussion this afternoon. I believe all of us are going to participate. We will ask questions when time comes for questions, and we will make our contributions appropriately. Welcome so much, and our audience, YouTube audience, we welcome you to this discussion. Maybe you will have some comments to make. You can drop them at the chat section so that we move along together. Just like I said, some people, some marriages go through issues, and some could be silent. People don't share about what they are going through, and for some, it's open knowledge that there are some issues. This afternoon, I want us to discuss abuse in marriage or domestic abuse when it's not safe to be at home, or when home is not a safe place. It's our discussion for this afternoon. Do you stay until death because you say till death do us part? Or you get to a point of pressing the exit button and say, I cannot stay here anymore? Now, this discussion is a product of our last week's discussion. I think there was something we were talking about last week, and we said we would do a follow-up of the discussion so that we can have some knowledge, some position, and we farm on an idea and live by it. So I want to welcome you. I have an able panel this afternoon. Maybe you can introduce yourselves. You can start from your side.
I'm Sephora.
Sephora, what do you tell Sephora? Good. Good. We have also a sister next to me.
I'm Claire.
Okay. Claire, well, Sephora, Claire.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Joshua McCory.
Okay, that's Joshua, Elder Joshua.
And my name is Bernard Miregwa.
Good. So we want to start. And like I said, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to even stop us as we move along. If you have a point that you want to make, don't wait. Now, I want to start with Sister Sephora. What is an abusive marriage?
Well, an abusive marriage can also be called domestic violence, or where we have intimate partner violence. And I have a definition here where it means it's a willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and or other abusive behaviors as part of systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. So the underlying factor is that there has to be a pattern of behavior, and there has to be there has to be the aspect of power and control, where one partner is trying to control the other partner.
Okay, so you talk about a pattern. Are you saying if I slap you once, it's not domestic violence?
It is violence, but there
It has to be systemic.
pattern. There has to be a pattern.
Elder Joshua, what do you think?
Thank you, Pastor. I think a one-time incident can amount to assault. It may not necessarily be domestic violence. It may deem to be, even sometimes spouses or partners have been charged of offenses of assault, particularly when it's an incident. But in my interpretation from here about the domestic violence, it also talks about a pattern of behavior used by one person to gain power and control of another person with whom they have or previously had an intimate relationship. And it goes on to say that these may include physical violence with the use of hands or objects or weapons. It may also include threats, intimidation, physical force, or using a position of power for sexual purposes. It may also include emotional abuse, verbal abuse, or psychological intimidation, including threatening to kill a partner or a child. It also may include some spiritual abuse, where a partner may prevent you from worshiping or practicing your religious beliefs, or maybe directing you to do the same. It also has what we call financial abuse, including stealing, controlling finances, forcing a partner to work, or prohibiting a partner from working. It may also include harassment and stalking, including monitoring a partner's activities online or using electronic devices
That's deep.
to watch or control them, following them or consistently invading their privacy. We also have what you call cyber violence, including images and video sharing without consent, taking pictures or videos without a person's consent, online bullying, harassment, or unwanted texting and hate speech. So
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. That really involves a lot of things. Let me ask the audience. How many forms of violence or abuse did you get from those definitions? One? Put up your hand and yes? Physical abuse, yes? Financial abuse, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse. I heard something like that. What else? What else? Come on. Come on. What other form of abuse do we have? As sexual abuse,
Psychological.
psychological abuse, cyber abuse. It's a lot, huh? Verbal abuse. Okay, I think if time will allow, then we will try to go into all those forms of abuse. But even before we go beyond, do we have Christians who are in such situations? Elder Peter, no, come on, come on.
I think, thank you, Pastor, for that question. Already you had the resounding answer to that question. Yes, the reason being, truly, we are Christians, but beyond being Christian, we are human beings. And it's important for us to realize even at the heart of the most suffering people, you will find are Christians, because they have values and there's expectations. And when you realize, when you find this all sorts of violence or all sorts of abuse happening within a Christian setting, it's serious. It makes people to close off. It makes people to dive inside, and people are going through serious depression and serious troubles within families. And so I think it's important to open up and discuss this.
Just off the camera. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Do you know of someone who is in such a situation? Just put up your hand if you've ever known of someone who was in such a situation. I'm saying 1, 2. Okay, fine. So that means we are discussing an issue that is not for rain, right? Do we have such instances in North America? Sure, everywhere? Sure. So that we are together. You see, there could be a marriage that is not happy, an unhappy marriage. And there could be a marriage that is going through abuse. Are there differences between those two? Maybe Brother Joshua, you want to say something?
That's correct, Pastor. And just to echo what the Ben has said, that even within a Christian setting, there has been instances of violence, even when we expect as Christians to be the role models. I have a privilege to practice law in Ontario, and it has been one of the trends that I see, because I've represented clients on family law matters, and to a large extent, a number of them have issues with violence. And in fact, even in criminal matters, I see quite a lot of people being charged of offenses of violence emanating from domestic violence. And when I have, based on my assessment, I find that quite a number of those that have been facing these challenges are people who are new immigrants. And one of the things that I've been struggling to understand is that it's because most of our people who come here and the new immigrants, because of the culture, they come here and they find that the culture in North America is very different, and they struggle to adjust, or some refuse totally to adjust, or others struggle and they do not accept that they can still be able to change. So, and when they don't, then you realize that they are the perpetrators. They perpetrate this violence in their homes. One of the things that we advise people who find themselves, particularly women and children, that you must be able to discuss with them about the exit strategy, because they may be killed. So we need to understand that, can they be able to exit without any danger of them being injured or being killed? And when you realize that that is an aspect that you need to encourage them. But again, let me go back to what Pastor was asking, whether unhappy marriage and
is an happy marriage equal to a domestic
violence.
Abuse?
So
Yes.
unhappy marriage there may not necessarily be violence involved. And I was saying that you may be unhappy because maybe there are expectations that you have in your marriage and your partner is not living to that expectation. And I was giving an example, like maybe I'm very careless. I leave my socks all the way from the door.
By the door.
And
let me see men who are guilty of that. You may not be alone.
I'm not alone.
It's an example. It's an example.
So I hope whoever is complaining is here. So you have seen the hand that I've gone up. So what I'm saying is, so there are certain behaviors, maybe sometimes things that we are so accustomed to and we are struggling to change, that may make another person be very unhappy about you and then feels that the marriage is not working. But as opposed to domestic violence is where there is a level of violence that is involved that so may not necessarily be in the aspect of unhappy marriage. That violence may not be an aspect.
I have a question. Why would someone abuse their spouse in whichever form? Claire, you want to say something? Why would someone abuse the person they say that will love you till death, in sickness, in health, in wealth, in poverty, till death do us part? Why would that happen? Why would that happen?
So one of the reasons, there are many reasons this may happen, and one of them is trying to take control. You feel threatened, you feel intimidated by the partner, and so you want to be the dominant partner in the relationship, and so that's one of the reasons. And the other one is really lack of love, and sometimes the abuser does not necessarily know that they're abusing. They think that's the way to do it. It could be cultural background again, and failing to learn to change, to do it the Christian way, the Christian culture. So those are some of the reasons.
I have a question. Does love die? Huh? Naomi, love dies? Whatever, just love.
It can fade.
So what happens? What happens to the person that you walk down the aisle together and it dies? But love is still there. It's only the expectations that are, yeah. Okay, let's listen to Yep. Okay. I don't want to ask that question here. I wouldn't want to ask. Joe, maybe you have something to say? Yeah. Okay. 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 Okay.
I wanted to.
Let me get Sister Joanne and then Grace.
I was going to say, I think love does die, but then again, love with healing is triggered by loving action. And so when we stop doing loving actions for our partner, whatever it is that we care about, they then invoke the feeling of love and action.
Come on, so you're saying that there are two types of love here you're trying to describe? You're dissecting love into love the feeling and love the commitment?
No, not two types of
Yes.
love. The feelings of love are invoked by actions of love.
Okay.
And so if we stop doing that in action, you stop caring and whatever it is that initially triggered those feelings, if you stop doing the action, then the feeling will die out. So all I'm saying is that love and feeling is triggered by loving action.
No, for the men who are here, then you know what triggers Sister Joanne. The actions. I read somewhere in a book that there are how many love languages? Are there 5? One of them is the actions, right? Yeah, and people have different love languages, right? There's one I listen to more. You bring me a gift, maybe it melts me down, or you do something. But some people want to be told, I love you. You know, he doesn't even tell me that he loves me. When was the last time? And that kind of thing. Sister Grace, I saw your hand was up. Okay. Okay, she says love built on lies. So Grace is bringing another dimension that you can have love that is built on what? Lies. And what happens when you have love built on lies? It does what? It crumbles, right? And then tomorrow, I don't look at you the way I looked at you. Or I discover that you lied to me. You are not what I thought you were. And so maybe from there, we have some mistrust. I don't trust you again. But still, let's go back to the equation. What can cause someone to abuse their partner? We will get back to it. Is there someone here? We will come to you. What causes someone to abuse their partner?
Yeah, I think one thing I would say is looking at the imbalance that is there. Most likely, you ended up marrying. You know, there's this principle that I always frame it through A, B, C, D, E, F.
Okay.
Of marriage, of choosing a right partner. So there's some assignment you needed to have done and ended up selecting the right partner. For example, if the age difference is so big, for example, many times you see whenever you select, you need to consider the age because it's very unwise often at times to marry a man who is 10, 15, say 15 years older than you. Such a decision will not help your children at all. Sure. And I think people, secondly.
So what are you saying, Elder, here?
So
come out
saying,
clear.
So what I'm saying
So
really,
the age difference should be, for the sake of those who are thinking, so you have to come very clear.
So I'm really saying the difference between the man and the age gap should really be considered.
Like how many years? 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
So say 10 years. Between men, for men, 10, it should not go beyond 10, 15 years.
Have we ever seen a man who is too old and a woman who is relatively old, like difference of 20 years old, and they have a successful marriage?
Yeah,
Or
they
the
are,
success could be,
but they are exceptional.
that's what we see, right? But maybe searching deeper. I don't know. I don't know if I should allow him to talk because of the microphone. But just go ahead. Just go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm very hesitant
Okay.
on amplifying Elder Nyarigo's part
Okay.
about it as a source of violence because of what he has said. I've seen people have large age differences and they live okay. I've seen people who have very small differences and they have absolute friction in their life. However, on the fact
Can we then say that those who have a huge gap and they're doing well, exceptional cases? I don't know.
I think
Age gap can be a risk factor.
It can be a risk factor. It can be a risk factor, yes.
the age difference can only be what you put a risk factor. That's what
Okay.
What I was saying is that it creates a risk because when somebody is older than you by that margin, then they feel that even they stop treating you as if it's a wife.
You're a baby. You're a child.
Your daughter.
Yes.
Daughter.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. So they think you are their daughter because some married people are almost the age of their daughter. So they forget that this is a spouse who needs that level of space and the level of intercourse, intellectual intercourse, that level as a wife, not now as a daughter. So it creates the narrative when this wife is trying to raise a valid point, then in his insistence, then it becomes a risk where someone listens and then tries to use abusive methods to make his point pass.
Elder Ben, I'm sorry I cut you short and I took away the discussion. But let me get back to you. You've got to forgive me.
Yeah, so I think that is a risk factor, but research has shown there are exceptional cases where those gaps are there, that marriages happen and they're happily together. But again, you need to be careful on the difference. So I think that is important because especially if the difference is so big, 15, 20 years, expect for sure when the expectation will not be the same.
Yeah.
And then secondly, there will be frustrations. And in one way or the other, the way you'll be looked at, the older man looks at the lady as if it's like a house girl or a daughter, or the relationship will be different. Then the other rift that is very important for us to know is if you end up marrying down, especially ladies marry up and the women marry down. So what I mean by that, in the sense like the education difference or the job difference between the two people needs to be people they can work together. For example, it's easier for a man to marry a wife or a woman who is less educated, and the
reverse
husband
is not easy.
oftentimes will invest and bring that wife up, but the reverse is often hard. So
Okay.
again, that also creates an imbalance in the sense if you find you are dependent on the husband, and then that's also a risk because if you are abused, you will have no way of exiting because you are dependent on that kind of relationship. And maybe if you didn't invest in yourself to get to a level to be self-dependent, and it becomes a cycle and a pattern.
As Elder Joshua is taking the microphone, do we have men who are abused?
yes.
Sure? Come on, are you kidding me? Many of them? Silently suffering. That's okay, fine.
Thank you,
Let
thank
me
you,
hear
Pastor.
what,
Thank you, Pastor. I also, well, to a large extent, it can also, it doesn't matter who is young and older, But you may find that maybe the one, if in the event that a partner, one of the partners is younger than the other, so much like that the age difference is big, then when you try to control or try to explain something or try to prevent the other partner from doing, the other partner may feel that you, during your time, you did this. Why are you preventing me? Because this is my time. So, and that may bring some kind of conflict. But I wanted to say that some of the factors that may make up another partner abuse the other is in instances of difficulty tolerating a constructive criticism. Because there are people who do not want to be criticized or want to be told that what they're doing is not right. They will react or overreact. And there's also an aspect of entitlement, where you think that you have a right to do things in a certain way, and if you feel that the same is being challenged, that you may feel threatened, and you may want to punish that person or overreact, or in the process, try to be violent. I also want to talk about an aspect of lack of empathy. You see, there are many of us, we are not able to put ourselves in other people's shoes and feel that if this was happening to me, how will I also feel? And there's also an aspect of lack of accountability. You see, many of us do not want to be put to be, even we are not good stewards. Even God is telling us that we need to be good stewards and to be able to account for what we have. But many times, we do not want to be accountable, even in terms of the finances. I'm running my account, my wife is running her own account. When I'm being asked about money, I don't want to account on how I'm spending my money, and that also, Pastor, can also make the marriage to be very unhappy.
Okay.
Because even when still there are no physical violence involved,
You're not happy.
you're not happy because this man, I don't know where he takes his money. Or sometimes it can also be an aspect where, in terms of finances, where families, you're trying to help your family, or one of the partners comes from a family that's well off, and the other partner comes from a family that is struggling. And there's an aspect where you're struggling to help your family, but the other partner does not want. And in the process, that can also be a source of problems.
Okay. Lastly, very good. Lastly.
There is
I was waiting for lastly.
Yes, Pastor. And we have an addressed trauma.
Yes.
Some of us, we may have been have had abusive partners, or we have history of complex and childhood trauma, where in living homes where we have witnessed or were ourselves abused. So we have a history of unresolved trauma that can result in the way we react to circumstances. Thank you.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Does my history, family history, and my own history play a role in the way I'm going to live? Does it shape me in my relationships? Okay. I want to listen to Cow. Cow, I saw your hand going up one or two times.
Yeah, mine is based on what they said.
Yes.
And he said something about in the line of like it's easier to marry for a man to marry a woman who is less educated than them. And then so, and that one I think also goes in the line of that men having to marry women who are younger than them, and not the other way around, like say a man marrying someone who is older than them. And that may also be a factor of maybe a man being the successful person when working in a woman, maybe a man earning more than wives, things like that. So I was wondering, like, and those things like facts of life, the facts, or is it something that you get from maybe culture or the history of Christianity? And is it something that if those types of things lead to violence, for example, is it that we should avoid marrying, let's say, someone who is way better than us as a man? To avoid that, or is it that we should change our mindset of society? Say that it's okay for a man to be less educated than a wife. It's okay for the wife to have a woman. It's okay sometimes to say the woman is a bit older than the man, and that's fine. Is it that we should avoid doing that too? Is it that we should avoid marrying those types of people to avoid conflict, or is it that we have to change our business? So that's what I want to clarify, because to me, like it's easy for a man to marry someone who is or someone who is say it must be the other way around.
Okay. I think the question is clear. There's a question, right? That begs a response. Very good. Elder, you want to clarify on that?
Yeah, so I think that whatever Brother Cow has mentioned is important. And again, in society, there are all those risks, and either you have a man marrying a lady who is older, or marrying a lady who is younger, and in circumstances that you can't avoid that in society. But whatever I was presenting is, I think we need to be very careful on the age difference, just in general, but also in terms of when you are also, because it's always good to, even when you're looking at to getting to a partner, you need to look at what things you share in common. That is important, because the common things that you share together helps us to have a relationship and a communication, and having because this is somebody you choose, you are going to live your life forever. So I think it's important, the things that you need to look at to ensure that those conflicts are there. Of course, there are few marriages really that will prosper, will go through that, people will learn through and work it out. Again, remember, we can't limit God's grace.
Right, sure. You're right. You're right.
So, but again, it's as it comes. So it's the concept given that probably whenever you're looking at, you need to look at those different points. But again, there are exceptions whereby, again, in life, you find a man marrying a woman who is well educated, and eventually they end up living together happily, and maybe sharing together happily. But also, statistics show those sometimes are exceptions. But again, I get what Brother Cow is saying.
Elder Peter, I'll come to you. You want to add a reason? I think I want to take 1-2 reasons why people abuse their partners. Do you have a reason? Or just a comment? You can throw it. You can throw it, sir. You can throw it.
Like right now, we are more focused on in marriage, but I believe an abuser who is in marriage will be the same person you can find in a workplace who is abusing other workmates.
Come up again. I
chances
didn't
are,
get it. So you're saying
an abuser who is an abuser in marriage, chances are, if you find them in a workplace or anywhere that they deal with any, because it involves the relation. You have to be in a relationship with people, right? Okay. You'll find the same habit where they deal with other people.
Sometimes, but not always.
Yeah, not always. So
do we know people who are tough at home, but when they get out, they are
very docile.
They're very docile.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are others who are docile out there. I knew of one. But when he gets home, he's just. But he was very aggressive outside.
Yeah. So
sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Either ways, yes.
Either way. So it kind of like in marriage, it's like it creates that environment, because there are a lot of things that are being shared in between the couples. So which bring into loggerheads between the two. So it creates that perfect environment. If there's that habits that someone has, even during childhood, with all the experiences that somebody has undergone from childhood, or the experience, whatever, in between life, before they go married, it just gets an environment to explore.
Okay.
So we don't want to look necessarily that it's the marriage which is creating the abuser.
Can the marriage create the abuser? That maybe this woman or this man was good, and the way they behave is caused by the other person's behavior or misbehavior until they become hardened and they become real abusers because they've been pushed to the wall and they have to fight for their space. Can that be true? Let me transition. Let me transition. Let's have that in your mind. I know that could be true. That someone was good and things happened. So sometimes a marriage can, the actions and the interactions that happens then can cause that. But let me transition to something else. Let me get something else. Is it possible that I could be in an abusive marital relationship and I don't even know?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
I am in, but I don't know. I'm being abused, but I don't feel it. I don't even know that I'm being abused. Maybe we can listen to Vincent. And then Naomi. Vincent, then Naomi. Vincent? Right here. Could I be in and I don't even know?
Yeah, it's possible because especially where it comes from men, where a woman is very submissive. He knows he has gotten his only rib that he's been looking for. And the man is taking advantage of this submissiveness and engaging in this abusiveness. But the lady is not keen enough, or if it is, she's not taking it seriously. She's taking it as a by the way. However, it will continue to an extent that beyond a line, which now the woman will just wake up and realize, oh, I thought this is, it was something that was by the way. It is becoming an habit.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Sister Zipporah. Can it be that I'm being abused and I don't even know?
Most of the abusers,
Yes.
they do a very good job grooming the victim.
Oh, sure.
And so by the
Explain that.
by the time you're being abused, you
You-
don't even interpret it as abuse because it has been normalized
Okay.
in your life.
Okay.
So somebody does something to you, but because they do it little by little, as we saw in the introduction,
Yeah.
there has to be a pattern.
Yes.
So it starts slowly. So it's one action that lead to the other, that lead to the other. And by the time they're now full-blown abuse,
You're
you're used to it. You're groomed
normal.
to that life. So it is normal for you.
So that when you're not abused, then it's abnormal.
So you can't even tell, right? It's like, it's almost like they brainwash you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can't hear it because there are people who are abused. Like, I work with a lot of people who are in domestic abuse.
Okay.
I work with child welfare.
Okay, okay.
And I see a lot of domestic abuse. But a lot of time, the women will be innate. You are seeing it right away. Like, you go in the home and there's abuse happening in the home. The man is very abusive, but these women keep protecting this man,
Okay.
right? They say, and they blame themselves.
Okay. This
Right?
man is good.
Yeah, they blame themselves for what happened. Oh, it's me who did this. Oh, it's me who asked you. Oh, I took his phone. They keep protecting the
name of that
abuser.
syndrome? What's the name of that syndrome? Huh? What? Stop. That's it. That's it. That somebody has abused you
To an extent.
to an extent that you identify with them, and you're even willing to defend them.
And that's true, Pastor. Just an intro on what my sister said.
Maybe she can finish, then I'll get back to you.
It happened a lot. You won't believe because, when you're trying to provide resources to this woman on the exit plan and what they can do, they call you and they say, you need to leave us alone.
Leave us alone.
Right? So you become now the intruder. So you feel sad, and it's as a profession, as a professional, you should be in between. Like, you can't side with either.
Yeah.
You can only provide information, resources, but you can never advise a person going through abuse on what to do.
Sure, you're right.
At the end of the day, it's their choice.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised, most of the women, they choose to stay.
Okay.
And you know right away there's abuse because they are brainwashed. You know, they protect their abuser, they blame themselves,
Helen is
and
not
they
happy.
become now the perpetrator instead of
Helen is not
victim.
happy. Oh, okay. Okay, Naomi, I'm coming to you. Let's listen to Elder Joshua briefly.
No, and I see my sisters want to contribute to the other side. What I wanted to say exactly, I wanted just to concur with what my sister said, because she works. I also find myself, particularly mine, it relates to criminal matters where the partners have been charged with domestic violence, and you find one of the partners. And this is to a large extent are women who come to me crying and telling me that they do not want their husband to be charged. How can I withdraw these charges? Oh, this is not what I intended. I thought that the police were only coming to give a warning. Now my husband he's going to have a criminal record to a large extent. But of course, I've seen instances where men have also come and also speak in the same language. So, and they continue, to some extent, they blame themselves that I did not that they called the police, or I did not that they did this. Maybe the situation could have not been escalated. So it's true that the people live in this. And of course, lastly, as I finish, it's also about culture. There are culture that makes it very normalize it. That,
Okay.
you know, women, you can slap your wife and the
It's
wife
okay.
would treat that as a sign of love.
Love. Naomi.
Okay. All right. Based on the insecurities, I like about why. What was the question again? But anyway, what I wanted to say, sometimes because why men and women have a relationship that having issues is because of insecurities. And it could be for more than one different type of insecurities. And sometimes the men, they might feel inferior to the woman, and the woman also might feel less. So they will be looking upon their husband as more higher. So even if the husband are hurting them, they will always show that kind of respect to their husband and not wanting to say, you're hurting me. You know,
Okay.
because most time we don't use those words.
Okay.
But those words are always good to identify when you're hurting. You have to say it, I am hurting, or you are hurting me. And another one that I wanted to talk about, like when men, sometimes why they're so insecure is because when they not when they abuses their partner or their wife, it's because sometimes they would do it they would abuse them verbally, but then they end up like it's a joke. So they kind of bring it out like a joke. So the woman is not able to identify that I am being abused, because the husband always find a way to make it be a joke. And so those are some of the things that we have
Okay,
to
okay,
learn
okay,
to
okay.
identify.
Elder Ben, you have something to say?
Yeah, I think it's this is really because that an example that two of some of the examples that are real in real life.
Okay.
Our family, very close family member, all members who happen to have been going through this kind of situation. And what Sister Zifora said is very true, because you find the husband is very welcoming and nice outside there, but whenever he talks to other members outside, it looks very okay, very welcoming. But when you go in the house, this gentleman is not a gentleman. Is an
Okay.
animal, really.
Okay.
Because often at times there are scenarios whereby he has even gotten to a point when he beats the children. Happens that the children are girls. The wife, and there are two instances where he even kicked the wife out of the car, moving car. And so again, it's so disturbing, because often at times when you talk to you, we want to help, and the lady, we get to a point we want to even support, get arrangement, get her out and bring even over here, process everything, getting the final stage. Again, this guy comes in and like, oh, where are you going, and all these, my passports and all this, and this eventually again goes back completely. There's nothing happened. So the insecurity that is there, you feel like the next day we'll wake up and find you're not there. So there's a way, it's a pattern that is there. You are hit and it stops. It's like the rat that kind of bites you and then blows and then bites you and then blows. You don't know when you get the final stop. So again, it's a pattern that I think that really needs a lot of support. I don't know how, but I think it's a real situation, and the victims are in serious danger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
to just add on what everybody has said, these abusers, I can call them clever. They know that they're going to be in trouble if your close friends and your family
Get to know.
know that they are abusing you in the home. So they try to alienate you from your close friends, from your family. You could be a woman, you could be a man. Say there's a social gathering for women, you're going to talk something, and this abuser will not want you to be part of that group. They know you have 2, 3, 4 close friends. You want to go have dinner somewhere, you want to go have lunch. They don't want to let you go there because they know that your friends are going to share some knowledge that will help you identify what are, some of these things, the problems that are happening in the home. Same as with the family, you have a family. Oh, can I go visit my sister? Can my sister come over? They want to keep you to themselves. They want to keep that control and brainwash you to a point where you start thinking, this is the only person who cares for me. I don't really have that many good friends. You even forget that it is this same partner who has alienated you from those close friends and close family members, and so that they can be able to manipulate you more, to control your life more. I also want to touch on the question about, can somebody be good and then be pushed in a relationship to start being an abuser? And my answer to that is, part of the tactics of an abuser is to transfer blame to you. So they'll be abusing you, but then, well, I did this because of
You made me.
because you made me, you made me, you made me. At the end of the day, everybody out there will think,
Knows.
oh, that man was fine until, or
The woman.
or that woman was fine until they were pushed to the wall by this. So there are all these clever tactics
Yeah.
that the abuser uses, and just to watch out as partners.
You're right. You're right. Veronica, did I see your hand at some point? Veronica, Sister Veronica, did I see your hand at some point? Or it's water under the bridge? It's gone? Okay, fine.
Yeah, I was saying like these things start just early in marriage. They don't just start now. Like first, when you get married, those first things, what somebody is, he's gonna start or she's gonna start it from the time you get married. Things happen, and you just take them as normal. Somebody is gonna abuse you and just say something, an abusive word to you, and like, you caused this one, and you just say, maybe that's how it is. You take it like
It's
one
okay.
day, second day, you go, you are used. You don't even see, even if somebody says something to you, it's normal. And it reaches a time like, this person, the abuser, maybe a lady or a guy, is gonna make you a sister. Claire said, like, make sure you are not going to interact with other people. Simply because if you go, you're gonna get maybe some advice from the other women or other men, how you're supposed to live. Or he's scared or she's scared. Like if you go, you're gonna get something and so you're gonna exit. So they make sure like you are indoors. They don't allow you to go anywhere. And another thing, like sometimes they use kids, children. Something happens. Oh, you know your mom did this, your dad did this. So you're gonna feel like, do I exceed this? No. Let me just stay because of these kids. The more you stay there, the more you get hurt. By the time you reach that climax, you reach the climax, there's no turning back. That's where the love just disappears. You don't have any feelings for this person. Everything goes. Even if somebody comes back like, can we work on this? Mm-mm. It's so hard to come back. It's dead. It's done. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'll get to cow. Why do people choose to stay in such arrangements? What holds one? Cow and then Grace. There's someone at the end there. Someone at the back.
Yeah, Veronica said one reason, that was children, but then the other reason that I was going to provide is it's dowry. Dowry, the
Dowry can hold you.
yeah, yes, it can. So let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Claire says it's true, so you can continue.
Yeah, let me explain. Like, I have a friend who got married, and the guy paid a lot of cows, right? A lot of cows, and so
Come on, let's follow. Let's follow. This is
and so,
interesting. This is
and so
interesting.
like so
He paid a lot of cows.
yeah, yes, to the parents, and then but then in their home now they don't have a lot, so the man gets angry, will be beating her up, but she cannot run away, go back home.
Because I paid.
Yes, and also if he went back home, then the man would demand the dowry back. The family cannot pay
Bring back the cows.
The father cannot pay back, so what would happen? He would go to jail.
Cow,
So-
just a question. How many cows do you give in your culture?
at least 50.
At least
That's
50.
like the list. Yeah,
Okay.
but it gets to 100 and more.
50
yeah.
to 100
So-
cows. So if that number of cows has been paid, then you go back. That's really.
Yeah, yes. So you can go back, and also like if you were to go back, because back then, like, people, you would run away, right? If your husband is beating you at home, you run away to your parents' home, but they will send you back. And the problem is that, like, and this is something that parents should see, like, you should believe your children. If your daughter says is being beaten up or something like that, believe them and don't send them back. Protect them. But then sometimes, since they could not pay back the dowry and things like that, and then they will say, oh, we went through the same thing. Your father used to do this, so this is nothing. And then so they'll just play it out, and then things go like that. But then you might end up dead. You never know. So the thing is, like, so
I think,
the thing with dowry too, you need to consider it. It's like you're selling your daughter sometimes. So
Thank you so much. Where I and Jean-Luc, or Jean-Luc and I come from, we pay one cow. And that's really true. That's really true. One is enough. Okay, can I listen to Grace quickly, and then Peter, and then Esther? Very, very, very briefly.
I think most of the things have been said,
Okay.
because no one will ever wanted to leave home when home is safer to stay.
Okay.
And most of the time, especially to women, let me say that, because we get this attachment from our kids and stuff. So you find hard leaving the father of your kid, and going to your home. Your kids will disturb you. They will want to what happened and stuff. So women will always feel like you need to stay in this marriage because for the sake of your kids.
Okay.
Again, another thing, these things are happening everywhere. So when you normalize how these things happen to you, you will see your fellow humans undergoing the same thing. So say if she's staying, why can't I stay? So
Okay.
she sometimes chooses.
So your mama stayed.
Why can't you?
Why can't I stay?
Why can't you?
This was happening to her,
You are
and
too comfortable.
she went nowhere.
Yeah, and then others fear to go and start from zero. So
Okay.
when
Where do I start
when
from?
you are just journeyed with this person maybe for 15, 20 years, so starting over again from one, getting a partner or staying without, you'll find it hard. So you just decide to stay. And what people will say about
What will they say?
about you, they'll take you as a victim, especially to where I come from.
Okay.
So they'll see like if this woman left her home, maybe she was the problem. She didn't want to stay with the guy. So if the
Okay.
guy would be like, we'll stay with this grace and left her home and stuff.
So you must stay.
Yeah, so you'll fear leaving your family
A bad
because
name.
you will get another partner. Everyone will be thinking like you are the problem in the marriage. But I'll say you stay in that marriage because of your kids. If you don't want to your
Okay.
kids to
Okay.
be
Let me listen to John Lu. John Lu.
Quickly, something that we don't mention enough, it's also caused by church culture. Because one of the reasons why someone might not want to live a marriage is because they think the only reason to leave will be like a reason of infidelity. If your wife or your husband has cheated on you. And some people will say, okay, just be patient and stay there. Be patient on your husband. He'll turn around and be nice. Just be patient as a good Christian.
Okay.
And another thing that I've seen and I've heard a lot is a poor training of our leadership in church. Because most of the time when you're counseling a couple that's like going through abuse, you call the abuser and you call the victim in the same room. You shouldn't be doing that. And I've seen a lot of cases like that. I've heard a lot of cases like that. So it's poor training and also like church culture that kind of keeps people being abused or this relationships. Yeah.
Maybe as you take the microphone to Peter, then Joshua will say something.
Quickly, I just want to give a few of the, as Peter will say, that I know some of them have been mentioned, but one of the reasons why people tend to stay in their marriages, even when the marriage potentially is an abusive relationship, is society has normalized unhealthy behavior. So people may not really understand that they're in an abusive relationship. There's also an emotional aspect, emotional abuse that destroys your self-esteem, making it feel impossible to start afresh. And that's what my sister was saying. The cycle of abuse. After every abusive incident comes up a makeup, which is a honeymoon and, trying to treat this person and giving everything and trying to
forgive
and forget. It is also dangerous to leave because there are certain relationships where if you leave, you're likely going to be killed because this person is going to come after you. So you stick because you know that will preserve your life. Then when this person coming with a panga or a machete, and is going to look for you everywhere. It is not just hard to break safely, it's also hard to escape the cycle of control. Society perpetuates a ride or die mindset. You either have to die, you have to ride on, or you have to die when the marriage. They feel personally responsible for their partners or their behavior. They believe that if they stick it out, maybe things may change. There is also a social pressure to be in a perfect relationship. Just like what we say that marriage is fear of how others will react.
Yeah, what will my friends say?
Yeah. And of course also the aspect that we have shared this life together, we have built all this. Why should I walk out and leave this man with everything, when everything that we own, we have worked together? So, and many, many other reasons, but to a large extent, also the cultural mindset where we say that, your mom was beaten and she lived and she gave 12 children and she raised all of them, including
And
you.
we are all happy.
And they're all alive. Even your mom was not killed. So this man is not going to kill you.
Peter, please. Peter,
Thank
we
you.
want to listen
It's
to you.
more cultural, but in some incidences whereby financial issues come in, whereby you find the abused has no financial strength that you can go out and start by themselves. They have been locked in, and by the time it gets to that toxic level, they don't know themselves anymore. They don't see that they can walk out and start a life because of that financial muscle that they don't have, that they can start their own life. So you find that for them it's better for them to stick wherever they are because they don't see where they can go and they stay in. But thanks to things are changing and every gender is getting economically empowered. Yeah, but the down generations, so if we go down to the our mother's generation, grandfather generation, there are instances that we could see people are stuck in because they can't, don't have that muscle to start on their own.
Thank you so much, Elder Peter. Sister Esther.
Thank you. I think there's one very important thing that gets ignored all the time is the stigma that is attached with being separated or divorced.
Okay.
And this is something that even gets practiced very much in our church. Unless we are very much aware, it will continue. You'll find that, for example, it's a woman who's left the husband. Even in the church, she can be left to be sitting around. The other wives get scared of spending time with them, with the lady, because the husband.
Because she left the husband.
Because she left the husband, their husbands will feel like, what are you doing with the other women? Or she doesn't fit in.
She will spoil you.
Yeah. Or then also the fact that I might feel I won't fit in with the other women, so let me stay in this marriage so that I can fit in with the other woman that I have a husband. Another thing is even where, like the cultures where we come from, which again Carl alluded to, the dowry, it's not the dowry per se that is making you stay, but it's the fact that, for example, our culture, the Kisi, dowry can't be paid twice. Once dowry has been paid, I can never get married again, another dowry paid, unless this one has been returned.
Sure.
Yes.
It has to be.
With our culture, you can't. So unless I go and find that and return that dowry, then it can be paid again.
What happens if it's not returned, but you go and start living with someone else?
You can start living, but this family,
Yes.
they will still come for you, especially if they know that there are children involved.
Okay.
When I'll say, yeah, let me say, what
sure.
happens? Let's say the woman dies and there are children and dowry was never returned. It becomes a problem where that woman is going to be buried.
Okay.
I think it will not explain this because in civil marriages, the marriage is dissolved by obtainance of a divorce certificate. But in traditional marriages or customary marriages, the only way that you can be released is by return of dowry. Then that is an aspect of the marriage being dissolved.
Yeah.
So now, if you do not even have the capacity to contract another marriage, because at that time you are still considered, you're deemed to be married to this person until after the dowry has been returned.
So now to continue help you ask the question, why do people still continue to stay? Why do
Yeah.
they stay in this abusive marriage? Another thing Peter alluded to, a lot of, like, especially, it's now that women get educated, they are financially stable, they are able to contribute. But where you find somebody coming from, like the woman is the less educated, and which Dr. alluded
yes,
to that
yeah.
most of the time the woman is the less educated. You find that you have little money, you can't even have money to go and start standing on your own, take care of your
Pay
kids.
rent.
And many times that you find the woman is the one who goes with the kids, because if you leave the kids behind,
They suffer.
the kids will be abused by the other woman. That's very normal. I think it's been seen most of the time. If this man gets another woman, it's more likely that the kids will get abused from this second woman than so the mothers always go with the kids. So there's a lot, and just the fact that people, how are people going to see me? You know, it's usually what keeps the women staying. And for a man, I've seen situations where men have been abused, and they cannot be able to leave because we think that men should start march or they can't be abused. So the man can't even come forward and say that I'm being abused. So they are
I'm
scared
beaten.
of they are being abused because they are scared of accepting that they are being abused. So they continue to be in that relationship. So there's a lot that I think also as a church we can do, you know. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, as Elder Kibagendi takes the mic, I want to give it to you.
Yeah, so I just to add to what Sister Esther said, I think the society has a lot to do with the situation we find ourselves
Okay.
in. And I think because the fear of sometimes you feel scared of how the society and the people around you will say, and not everybody will understand the full picture. So, and especially if you have children, and there are several children, and you are fully dependent on this on the abuser, it becomes very hard to cut the bridge, because you are not very sure what the next phase of life is, because you have been fully dependent on this abuser. And the way it is put out, because you abuse your massage, you abuse your massage. And
Yeah.
it's a pattern that is, and often at times there's something in you, every family, every marriage is longing forward for maybe one day there will be a better day. There will be that day. So there's a belief that there's some, because again, when you abuse somebody, will say it's because of you did this. So you will say, oh, if I change, I try something else. There's some belief maybe that you can help your partner change if only you change something in yourself. And hopefully, maybe it will be waiting too long. The next time you want to change, maybe you'll be dead.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much, Elder Kibagendi.
Even in school system, kids who have the broken homes, they are seen as already prescribed that they will be destructive, they will be bad kids, So many parents want to say they are just people that they are constantly see that they come from.
Healthy. That's true. That's true. What will they say? Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes you wait for the mic and everything you are thinking has been said.
Okay.
But I'm looking at from the side of the culture, whatever, it doesn't matter, the Western culture or the African culture, they have a way of actually grounding people into things without even noticing that you've been put into it. Like now in this Western culture, you're being told that a woman can do whatever a man can do. Okay, that's a good culture because it's gender equality, where you need to empower your women, let them get to higher ranks. But the culture has put men down too in a way that, men think about money. They are not that much educated. So you find that there's an imbalance of these things too. So men are scared in the marriage and women are scared in the marriage, but they feel more empowered. They're going to stay and you're going to stay. Anyways, regardless. So people are abusing each other within the same marriages, and you think that's why if you see, actually most people who get into this kind of divorce are people who are in the church. If you go to the outside, they have a way of working their own things. But when you come to the church, there's no tolerance. So you end up with the people say you stay because how's people gonna see you? So and if you are not economically or financially stable, how are you gonna go starting it by yourself? You've been put up in a culture where you think that, oh, I can be doing this. So maybe you're helping to raise up the children, and then you get to some point, you're being abused. How are you gonna live? Because now the children have gone, they have grown. You wanna go to school. Now, are you gonna leave now because you didn't go to school yet? So you're gonna leave, and what's gonna happen? You are economically not ready to leave. You have to stay here because there's no equality with it. So you're gonna stay because there's no balance.
Okay. Okay. Let's move from that to what are the effects of abuse to the abused and maybe to the other people, maybe at home. This is domestic. And I think domestic could also mean that it's not necessarily the wife or the husband, but also the people at home who could be facing the abuse. What could be the effects? Maybe short term, even long term, maybe physical or emotional or whatever it is. What could be the effects of, okay, I think Peter again is ready there. And then Esther is ready also for the mic.
I think one scary thing in such an environment that you have kids who are there, they might think it's normal, and then they're gonna have the same come to their time. So when they are in the same marriage, they think, oh, it was okay for such girls to be in the home. So that's one of the things to the kids. So there's a
Okay, fine.
It modifies their behavior.
Okay, as you do so, anyone here? What are they? Yes.
When somebody is abused, it strips you of your self-esteem.
Okay. Okay.
So if it's a woman or man, Esther talked about the stigma. You don't want to come out. So you live with those feeling and you harbor those feeling inside, and it kind of downgrade who you are as a person. If I was somebody who is outspoken out there, I stop speaking.
Mute.
You go mute. Remember what an abuser does? They make sure you're very well isolated. And so you have nobody to share your things with. You die inside, and there's nothing you can do. And also, they make sure you are dependent on them.
Okay.
So you're not independent enough to be able to get out or even seek for help. The other thing, which I hope nobody ever does that, you can get killed. You can lose your life. We have seen a lot of people where people are getting shot and you die. And there is something that is going on the internet. Instead of you getting out with a coffin, it's better you walk and seek for help because it can happen. The other thing my husband mentioned about the impact on children. And that is why in child welfare, every time there is domestic abuse in the home, when the police get called, the police have the duty to report to child welfare, because child welfare has to come to your home and investigate and make sure the babies are okay. Because domestic abuse does not just impact the victim, it also affects the children in the home. Kids grow up with trauma. I have seen children who are so impacted of domestic abuse. I've been to a home where, a child, I still remember that case. It's still raw in my mind. It's been like 4 years ago. This child, the mother was being abused all the time. It was a young mom. I still remember her. It was a very young mom, was getting abused all the time. The parents were trying to talk to her to get out, but she never did. Unfortunately for her case, she got killed. And I still remember this 3-year-old who the mother got killed when the child was in the home. And this child was not found until we tend to think it happened like 2 days before. This is he was between, no, he was actually not even 2, because I went to see him and we work with children. So he was under 2. So you can imagine trauma this child was left with. Staying with a mom who is dead overnight. We think it happened like early in the evening and nobody knew until the other day in the morning. So it was such trauma that this child could not sleep. This child could not allow people to put off the light to sleep because he was traumatized. And so, people who are abused, abuse does not just affect the victim, it impacts the children in the home, it impacts the family, because imagine your mother who knows you're being abused and they're not able to help you. They feel helpless. It impacts your friends, because there's a friend who are trying to tell you to get out, and then you're separating yourself, you're being pulled. It impacts everyone, and it sucks to everyone except, the one who is abusing, the perpetrator who abuses you. They're usually up there and you're here, and you're kind of like dependent on them, you look up on them. And so it's good, just to sum it up, it's good to know that, domestic abuse does not just impact the victim themselves, it impacts everybody around them. And the impact of domestic abuse, it's very wide. You can get hurt, it's emotional, it's everything in between.
Okay, so just to thank you, Sister Spora, because she has said it. Mental health is not the biggest thing the abuse causes, not just to the victim, but to the children and the family surrounding them. And then it brings about addiction. A lot of people will try to go and find calmness or use something to, as a medication for the whatever the abuse they are experiencing. So they'll turn to addiction, either sexual addiction, drug addiction. It can be addiction of anything. So it really, the effects are huge, and also like even now the people end up to being dependent on, whether it's the Syria, they will be dependent on welfare, because they are devastated. They have no other alternative other than to go and depend on welfare to get money. They can't even go to school because they are disturbed. They are mentally disturbed. They are not stable. They can't go to school and bring themselves out. It'll have to involve being medicated, something which has been brought on them, which they wouldn't have gone through otherwise.
Thank you so much. I think that's deep. You guys have taken us deeper and deeper. Elder Joshua, as you come up, I want you to say what you want to say and also address the legal perspective.
Thank you.
What is it if I'm being abused? What is there something I could do, or I just surrender and submit?
Thank you, Pastor. I just wanted to say that some of the effects of this violence could lead to what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, which leads to nightmares, fear, anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts about it. Also, of course, we have talked about it leads to depression, including prolonged sadness. It creates a lot of anxiety, loss of self-esteem, and questioning the sense of self. Why? Why do I even have to live? And because of that, now it leads to suicidal thoughts or maybe attempts for people to commit suicide. Of course, this has also been mentioned about the issue of either sometimes people can result to all kinds of addictions, either alcohol or drug abuse. There is, of course, an aspect of hopelessness, feeling unworth, the inability to trust again, because particularly when people have been abused, they do not want to trust anybody. And of course, questioning and doubting the spiritual faith, particularly when the abusers are Christian. Because I've seen where people say that my dad, if it's a father who's abusing the mom and the children are saying, if that's the fate of my father, if that's what's going to take me to heaven, then I think I will leave it to my father. I don't want to be part of this. So because we have ceased to be role models. And of course, unmotivated. So there are a lot of factors that come about after this abuse. And again, now, if I have to speak from a legal perspective, you see, it is not safe to continue to remain in an abusive relationship. And we encourage people to walk away, maybe to give time. But the legal aspect is that there is an aspect of what you call separation, where people have to separate and live apart and separate. Now, what comes about in such an instance is that if there are children involved, there's an aspect of parenting. Because despite the fact that the other person may be an abusive partner, but it may not necessarily be abusive to the children. So now, initially, they used to call what they call custody and access. Custody and access is that the other partner or the other parent may have the custody of the children, but the other one must also be accessed or accorded access and must be also be able to be accorded an opportunity to be able to see the children. So in such a cases like lawyers, when we have an instance where children are involved, we tend to organize for what you call interim access arrangement between the two parents, so that they we try as much as possible to help them work on a way that it does not create any commotion or create any situation where any one of them's life is going to be endangered. And we ensure that if children are involved, the exchange where the picking and the dropping off of children should be done in a more common area. We tend to suggest where there are cameras, so that when the exchange is being done, at least the other person will not be able to do anything, because they know that maybe there is footages that may be collected. Also, we talk about instances where people are married and there is property. I talk about, like in Canada, what you call matrimonial property. Matrimonial property is, to a large extent, owning houses or their investments. So now what happens then if people are walking away or they are separated without any prospect of reconciliation? So what happens is that we need to ensure that if it doesn't matter whether, there are many instances where you find that the property, even if it's a matrimonial property, that is only one partner whose name is on the title. That does not prevent the other person from benefiting. So what happens is that a matrimonial property is shared 50-50 between the partners, unless there are exceptional circumstances where maybe the husband must have taken more money from the property in the form of refinance. So the other partner may say, you took more money and you used it elsewhere. I did not benefit from it. So now I must be able to get a bigger share than the 50% which we are supposed to get. So, but family law and the issues of property and the issues of the legal aspect is very wide, but I'm trying to touch on a few things in the sense that we talk about property, we talk about children. And if, for example, let's say the mother is the one who has moved out with the children, the other parent will be entitled to pay what you call child support. Child support is money that's paid to support the children because he still, despite the fact that the parents have separated, the other partner has an obligation to pay child support. Lastly, because of time, also, other than paying child support, the other partner also may ask for spousal support. Spousal support is money can be paid to either spouse, it can either be paid to the wife, or it can be paid to the husband, depending on who has a higher income. And when we talk about abuse, there are instances also the women are the abusers and the husbands have been allowed to stay with the children. So the wife also will be able to make arrangements of what you call custody and access, or how we can be able to see the children. But by and large, there are a lot of stages in terms of arbitration, trying to encourage people to be able to go through counseling. As lawyers, we are allowed to encourage people not to go through the legal process because the legal process is expensive. So they need to go through mediation, try to look for other informal ways of resolving their disputes without incurring additional expenses, because already they have already been drained out. So we encourage them. But if there is a prospect of reconciling and people coming together and living together again, and the people admitting and accepting their mistakes, then of course that is encouraged. But where we see that the marriage is toxic and there is no prospect of reconciliation, and that they are not likely to live together, of course, that arrangement has to be done for the interest of the children, and of course also to deal with any property that may have been brought into existence within the period of their marriage.
Can I add?
I think you can. Yeah, you
Sometimes
can
I just wanted to add, sometimes the system that we have oppresses some victim. For example, when we have, let's give an example of a woman, because, the higher percentage of people who are abused are women. I'm not saying men are not abused. But sometimes the system, when it comes to custody and access with the children, sometimes they look in things like finances. Are you able to support your children? And here comes an immigrant woman who just immigrated to this country, has never worked in her life, no source of income, nothing. And then, you go to the legal system, they have to look, are you able to sustain these children? What kind of support or financial support are you able to give these children? And then the perpetrator or the husband is well acquainted with the system. They have the ability to hire this lawyer. They have the finances, and they know how to go around the system. And sometimes these women, they don't even know the system, so they don't know how to hire the lawyer. And so a case like that comes to the court, and the husband is granted maybe the custody of the children. And the woman is the one who is being abused. And so the victim continued to be oppressed, victimized. The system victimizes the victim. And because of that, some women, they tend to stay and say, instead of you taking my children, because that's what I got in this
Let me
country,
stay.
let me stay, right? Or sometimes the perpetrators, they use, Esther put it very well, sometimes domestic abuse can resort to mental health and addiction. So the husband, they use that. They go to the court and say, she's mentally ill. She's mentally unstable, so she cannot handle children. Or she has issues of addiction, and so she cannot be able to take care of the children. So what happened? They go and the case is judged the other way because I have addiction now, or I have a mental health, and my mental health or my addiction came because of the abuse that I received. And so what happened in that case when, they threatened the perpetrator, they know it very well. And so it's like, if you call the police, I'm going to tell them you're addicted, you have drug issues, you have mental health. And because of that,
So you
what do
manipulate
women
them,
do?
you stay more.
They keep quiet, right? So the women are silenced, the victims are silenced, and they continue to be abused. And, I love this topic because you know what? This is something, it's realistic. It's in our community, it's in our churches. domestic abuse goes across. It doesn't matter the race, the religion, it doesn't matter your education or your financial status. Anybody can be a victim and anybody can be affected by it. And so it is so good that we are bringing it over here because it's real.
Okay, you can add something, and is there a way out of this?
Yeah,
It's so painful. Is there a way out for the abused?
yeah, so that actually was what I wanted to
Yes?
contribute.
Okay, fine.
Yes. So so with abuse, we have heard that it is there, it's in church, it's out there. There are resources available for people in church and also professionals out there. So in church, you don't have to tell the whole world. Like for example, in our setting, you can start with the pastor, the elders. Um, you can be referred to counselors within the church, or you can choose to just get in touch with a counselor that you know, even if they are not within the church, so that before things escalate to a point where you are mentally ill, where you are trying to numb your pain using all these other illegal means and getting to the divorce, you have at least tried to utilize some of the resources that are available.
So you're telling us not to keep quiet.
Yes,
Look for help.
Look for help. Yes.
Look for help. Don't die with your problem. I saw Hillary. Hillary, I think I saw your hand was up. Yeah.
On way out, we have so many way out as Christians, and most of the advantages. And I want to put it this way: there's a lot of counsel in the Bible perspective of it, and there's many counsels about in the spirit of prophecy about them. I want to mention two. One of them is tenderness. Tenderness in the sense that sorry, I didn't realize that I have mic. I thought I have my phone. I'm sorry. Tenderness in the sense that in many families there's a great lack of knowledge of God, and that's why we talk about many abuses is coming even unto us who are coming to church all the time. And this thing is basically one we need to have that tenderness. As much as the abuse might come, before that abuse comes, should speak unto you. Because before you abuse your partner, you need to know that this thing, if I say it, how it will come out if the other person said it to me, right? Thank you, Elder. So I think tenderness should apply in our family, and this is one of the way out that we need to apply. And more so, our family should be built in biblical perspective of it, and that one is going to help us to even encourage those people who are facing abuse outside there, because if we fall in the same trap, because the devil is not happy. And remember, in SOP, it records that home is a little heaven. But I want to believe that it cannot be a little heaven if there's abuses. It means that we need to find a way. We need to have a way that if something wrong, we put it on the table and we talk about it openly, and that one will avoid the abuses. So we be in a way that when something comes in the office, we have a conversation, all of that. We have a communication so that when solve it immediately. The problem comes in when we usually leave these things and then they compile, then somebody starts reminding you something happened 10 years when you got married. And now when they come on board, you realize that now we cannot solve it. But now we are starting looking people to help us to counselors, many people to come in. And then at the end of the day, is not going to work. So that one should be there. Two, kindness is very important. You should know that you should love kind. Anything that you're going to speak in your partner or your children, you should be kind. Even if they are wrong, kindness is very important. We should practice how to approach issues with kindness. And that one, you will realize that will solve so many issues to our families. And there's so many more. But let us weigh out one, we as Christians, let us based our issues on biblical perspective, and we have also the spirit of prophecy to guide us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm seeing 3 hands here. Before I get to them, is there someone who wants to say something? And let's move to something. Can the abuser be cured? Is there any hope for the accuser, or most of them will not even know it, or do they know? The abuser. Do some of them do it knowingly, and some of them are doing it without knowing? Could it be? And is there any way that such a person can be healed, cured, or it's a done case? Bob.
Pastor wanted, allow me kindly to say a point, then I respond to your question.
Okay, fine. Right.
So I was talking about, is there a way out? There's a way out, Pastor, and I wanted to amplify that way out. You spoke last week about exit. And I think when I was asking that question last week, that is the extreme I had in mind.
Okay.
And I want to tell the church that there are people who are thriving today because that marriage had to break down. There are people who will thrive. And God allows some marriages to break so that other people can thrive. You know, we are so sad that we lost one of the greatest voices of music from Nigeria because of a woman who was patient, who was hoping for the best, but she was taken 6 feet under because of an abusive man. So, Pastor, the way out, if what the lawyer has spoken about, Elder McCord, is not working, the counseling, exit is better. To your question, can the accuser be healed? The answer is yes.
Hey, did you get that? What do? Exit. Don't wait until you die. Till death do us part.
Yeah, that's not what the death, that was not the death that was meant there. So, Pastor, I think I wanted that to be amplified clearly, that the exit is the final one, and if it has become a pattern, as you said, Zipporah, don't hope that tomorrow will come better. Tomorrow never comes better. And I want to talk to the young people who are here. Where did the cow go? Are there young people here?
Stepped out.
Yes, young people, I want you to listen well. I want you to listen well, young people. I know some of you are having hopes of dating and making friendships and all that. Please, you better break a relationship than to break a marriage later. That is something I'll tell you. But if you continue to tolerate nonsense from now, especially ladies, because, you know, I want to be an intellectual here. There's something called intersectionality. Intersectionality is a very complex, I think the lawyer knows it, Elder Makori, whereby the people are the most vulnerable, the women and children. They find themselves in an intersection where even the law cannot protect them. So I'm not going to speak about it in the intellectual sense, but just understand that if you are seeing somebody is doing bad things from now and you assume, and then tomorrow you want to come and tell us I'm being abused, we can't help you. So please make sure you do it. But also there are other things, Pastor, I want us to discuss later, not today.
Okay.
The other thing we will discuss is about how also as Christians, we have defied God's order of a home, of a family. You know, some of us who are ladies here, sisi ndio kusema kwa nyumba, we are the lions in the house. We are the one who speak, and the men should keep quiet. So what we have in those homes, Pastor, are not men but pets of women.
Okay.
We think we have men, but they are pets. Now, when this pet comes up and realizes I'm being stepped on until it reacts, then we say, oh, my man has changed and all this. We'll talk about it later. Though your question you said,
it's not for today.
yes,
It's not for today.
Pastor, what you said, let me answer quickly, allow others to say.
I think your time is up.
No, the question you asked, Pastor, so that I can sit.
Okay,
you
fine.
asked us about, can the accuser be cured? The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Okay? The answer is yes. Even the sense is brought to light that this what you are doing is not right. And when he is warned, he makes immediate changes and is contrite. The answer is no.
Are there abusers who change?
Yes. There are people who have changed, Pastor.
Okay.
There are people, and we have examples of people we have spoken to, and they have changed and they have said
they have left that habit. But there are others who, Pastor, today if you approach him and tell him, Bob, understand that your family, your wife has come to me and you are saying this and all this. They tell you, go and do your things in your house. Don't come to govern my what? My house.
Family.
If somebody is abusing you, as an if somebody is abusing you and is not even wanting to listen to other people's advice that this is wrong, that one will not be cured.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Sandra, I think we are the tail end. So let's keep our comments.
Okay, for me, what I wanted to say, like currently, I'm working in shelter with women addiction for women who are addicted.
Okay.
And when you share, when I'm talking about what Sister Sephora said, all those women who are addicted in the shelter, it started from marriage. That's where it started, all of them. So when you share their stories, like there's another one who was obese. If she talks to you, she like what we say, the earlier exit, the better. Because that lady was telling me like she started being abused as early as day one after their marriage. And she continued up to 26 years. That's when she moved. Now she has moved out without anything. She's in a shelter because she started doing drugs. Then now she's obese. Being obese is not because she wanted to be, because of depression, because she was abused so much, because she was affected. So she started eating careless. She didn't care about herself. Her self-esteem went so low. She doesn't care about anything else in this world, because of the abuse she was getting from the husband. And now she's obese. She's doing drugs, and then she's been trying to commit suicide every day. So she's been put on high risk. Those people like who are in the room, you check, like they're not supposed to access anything that can put them in high risk of committing suicide. So that's how much the abuse caused her. And the rest we are with, so most of them, when you talk to them, it's through the abuse they got from men. They continue trying like, oh my God, I was trying because of my kids. My kids love their dad so much, so I was trying so that they cannot move out from their daddy's side. But then their kids have been taken away now from them. They keep on crying every day, oh, take me to my kids. Sometimes we take them to the kids, then bring them back. So like what I can say, the way you've said, I think the earlier, maybe when you see it's going far, instead of waiting for your kids to be taken away because of addictions and mental health, you better maybe start exiting earlier. That's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to, because of time, almost get this to the closure. I'm very glad that all of us have taken part in this discussion. And we have learned, we have identified, we have reminded ourselves some few things. And I think we are saying that abuse is a pattern. And there are activities that we could identify as abuse, and there are many forms of abuse. But the thing I want us to underline is you don't have to stay in an abusive relationship. Seek help, and after seeking help, and quickly there's nothing that seems to be working out. In my sermon this morning, I said sometimes it's good to separate until things are ironed out. You don't have to wait until when you're killed. I said last week that is not a license for exit. We've got to be very careful lest we have no marriage in this church. So we have to exercise our due diligence and really get to know, okay, this is it, and the line is here. And as God also guides us to be able to see and identify the signs and the signals and the exits that be appropriate for us as children of God. And really seeking for help from a counselor, from a pastor, would really be very, very useful. Can we reserve your questions for next time? I want to bring this to, pardon? Okay, fine.
If you are going through this, you seek for help.
through experience. Let me use
Yep.
myself.
Yeah.
It's so hard for you to seek for help when you are in that problem. For example, we are in a church. We know ourselves here. We know what people are going through. Maybe somebody has reached out to you, maybe elder, pastor, anybody here, my ladies, and nobody's doing nothing. It's so hard for this person to go seeking for help because maybe she or he doesn't know where to go. And now my question comes in like, as a church, what are we doing? Are we helping our members? Our members are going through a lot, and we know we just assume, and we just wait when something is like out. Now that's when we talk. Can we just do something like when we know our members are going through something, like we just try to help them? Reach out, call. If this person, if he or she is going through a lot, she's gonna open up and talk to you. Maybe through that way, you can just find a way of coming in and helping this person.
I think it's not a question. It's a very serious comment that I think we have to take seriously that comment and see how we can go about it. That's a very, very good one. Maybe you have to make a final comment just in 30 seconds as we bring this to closure.
Yeah, I think what I would say is that no one deserves to. Yeah. Truly, no one deserves to be abused, and there is the abuse is sometimes the faults can be just directly solely be pointed to one person, and so that's why I think my closing remark: if you are in that kind of situation, kindly seek out support. Support can be in the form of having support systems, and that is what Sister Veronica said. We need to look at, as a church, what support system can we put in place. The pastor is there immediate, who can help, and I think outside the church, too, there are also support organizations that have counseling and all this. So I think there's resources out there that we can tap to. So, and again, after you press the exit button, still after that, you need some support
Yeah.
to start going back until you are stabilized and get to normal life. More importantly, again, there's nothing too hard before the Lord. Even
Amen.
after you exit, still God will be in charge and will open those closed doors, and still you can succeed.
Amen.
Because God is a God of impossibilities.
Thank you. I do not want to repeat what Elder Bena said. Again, what we have said that please be alert and identify some of these things early enough to be able to make a right decision. And again, there was that comment that if it's not an actual relationship where marriage has not taken place, please try to see how you can deal with that at that early stage rather than when you want to deal it in your marriage. Again, pray and ask God, because sometimes we pray and God shows us direction on whom we are supposed to have as our partners, but sometimes we end up taking partners on our own without God's counsel, and then we get in trouble. Lastly, what I want to say is, please, and I'm very grateful that we now have a pastor. Our pastor, please reach out. He has always provided his number. He's willing to listen to each one of us, to not hide and to not keep your promises, because keep your problems, because maybe because of the fear, and sometimes we have also been subject to this condition that we feel we cannot share. Let's share our challenges early enough so that that help can come also at that early time. Let's continue to pray for one another. And let's also continue to be the role models for also our young people, because most of these young people are also learning from us. Let's try to be the role models. Thank you.
And then by the time you realize the whole community actually. So I think people, like if somebody is coming to you, they have confided with you, they tell me like, don't say, oh, if somebody has really come to you for help, this person is very big. Don't go around to spread rumors. So try to help this person. Don't be a person of making this person feel like I'm not wanted in this community. So let's take things serious. Let's have confidentiality. Somebody is in trouble, and be assured that if I come to person and tell them my situation that
He will not preach about it.
That's
This will be the sermon. I think that's you're correct. You're on point. That's point. Thank you. That is noted. So when someone confides in you, please just skip it. Don't broadcast.
Yeah, I just want to say that love is a beautiful thing. Love is supposed to be a beautiful thing. So in relationships, but whether you are beginning, whether you are already in marriage, you should be able to identify the differences between love and things that are not associated with love. That being said, there will be differences in the relationship, in the marriages. Some of them can be talked about between the two of you. I'm not happy this happened. Can we find time to talk about this? Because I have concern, I'm affected this way. And so communication is very important. There are things really that the two of you can sort out as you grow, as you learn each other, as you talk. When that does not work, let's learn also to identify the signs of abuse. Because as you have said, it's progressive, it's a pattern. So learn to identify that. When that happens, identify. Don't tell the whole community about it because you don't want your affairs talked about by everybody. Some people don't mean well. Identify somebody, a good friend. Share these things. Don't keep to yourself. Seek help. Your friend might help you to find resources that are available to you. And when you are told, like Janet said, when you are told about some of these things, please respect the other person's confidentiality. Put that in mind. Don't be the spreader. As long as you even if I say, hey, it's for your ears only. Trust me, that is you're already breaching that trust between the person who shared with you. So, as a victim, learn to share. Identify the most important. Identify a trusted friend, somebody who can keep the issues that you have discussed. As a recipient of that information, also respect that and do not be the spreader. Guide each other into the resources that are available. Even in the church, you might not have to tell all the elders and the pastor. You might identify one or two to talk to, and they will guide you if it needs, somebody maybe above, higher than them. They should be able to guide you or to say, no, you know what, I've failed on this one, try this one or this way. So the bottom line is do not keep quiet. Do not die inside by yourself. There are people who can help, and help is there. Just know how to reach out, who to reach out, and when to reach out.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, as everyone has said, abuse is real and it happens. I regular of confiding on someone. Find somebody that you can share your story with, somebody who will keep the confidentiality and not spread, somebody who will be able to help you. There is also professional help because you know what? Some of us, we are not counselors. Well, I'm not a counselor, and your friend may not be a counselor as well. So it is always good to find professional help. And now, thank God, we have a pastor. Pastor will be coming to you. And, he's able to help us. And I like the point that John Rook made, that in our churches, sometimes we go to help an abused victim, and then we sit the two of them together, and that doesn't work. You have to talk to them separately to be able to understand each one's side, because you know what? Even the abuser has a side of a story. So you have to be able to understand the two sides of the story to be able to help the family. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It saddens my heart on the stories and the things that are going out in the world nowadays. I'm in another group on Facebook where, this week there has been so many stories of abuse in marriage, to a point where somebody asked, everybody is coming out to say, how they were abused by the men. And somebody posed a question and they asked, as women, we are raising sons who will be somebody's husbands tomorrow. What can we do today to make sure what is happening to us will not happen to our sons' wives or our daughters of tomorrow? And that's the question I want to leave us with, because it is happening today. And if we don't do anything, what impact is this going to happen to our generation tomorrow? And that, with that, I wish and hope and pray that we can break the cycle. I hope and pray that it can stop with us so that our tomorrow can be better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my able panelists. I think it's been a wonderful afternoon as we dived into this discussion. For those who've been in this audience and for those who've been watching on YouTube, we want to categorically inform you that this is not all about marriage. Marriage can be sweet. It's not all gloom and doom. Are we together, everyone?
Yes.
Or every marriage is going through trouble like this? No, I think marriage is sweet, just like she said. It's not doom and gloom all the time. There are marriages that are happy, healthy, and there's love that is palpable. So may God help all of us as we make our decisions for those who are not yet married, that you may make the right decision. And even as we go through life, maybe with somebody that we have decided to marry, we know what to do and what not to do so that we don't get into a situation where we have reneged on what we promised each other. We promised love, we promised protection, and beautiful life. But sometimes we allow things to take the other direction and turn south. May God bless all those who are preparing to get married, those who are planning, those who are contemplating. Ellen G. White says again, if you start thinking about it, pray 4 times. So serious a thing that you want to enter into it and experience love and register success in your marriage. And for all of us who are married, may God continue helping us, that every day that we live, we may choose to love, to cherish the ones that we walk down the aisle with. And just like we have agreed, if there is a situation that would warrant you to go through pain, you suffer, and you are abused, then don't hesitate. Look for help, and when and where it will be necessary, you could have to even step out for some time as you sort out the issues. Don't wait if it is really a toxic and abusive relationship to wait until you get killed. Thank you so much. May the Lord bless you until when we shall meet again. May we have a prayer. Dear loving Father, we are very grateful for this discussion. It's our desire, Lord, that the points, the ideas, the questions that we've raised will help someone who is going through challenges, or someone who might go through challenges sometimes, because we're in a world of sin. Lord, we pray that you may give us wisdom as individuals as we navigate through the murky waters and the challenges that this life will throw at us. That God, we may never lose focus of the divine purpose that you have for us as individuals, that you have for our marriages. That God, we decide that they be centers of raising young people, raising children who will be healthy and they'll be able to forge relationships in the future that will help them to be healthy and useful and accomplish the purposes that you have set for each and every one of them. I thank you, Lord, for these panelists. I thank you, Lord, for the audience that is sitting here. And for those who've been watching on YouTube, God, I also pray. May you help us to be faithful, God, until when Christ shall come again, part of the marriage of the Lamb that is being prepared for us. Before then, God, help us to be faithful to you, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. We are praying.
Okay. Yeah, we have officially brought our session to a close, and we appreciate those of us who have been looking and watching to us, following this program online. I pray that is a blessing, and bye-bye. Hopefully you like, share, and we're looking forward to seeing you in our next presentation. Thank you.